Alright guys, so we're back again today to talk about 7 more enemies that we might not see in the Final Fantasy VII Remake. As I mentioned in the last video we did like this, I have zero problem if they want to put every single enemy from the original game into the remake. Absolutely zero problem with it, but the original game had some pretty strange enemy concepts, and these videos are kind of about poking fun at the original game a little bit, and some of these enemies, as strange and funny and weird as they are, would be very interesting to see in the remake. Hell House is a pretty good example. This is an enemy that a lot of people are wondering how Square Enix is going to handle, but it's a strange enemy concept. It's either a sentient being or a mechanical robotic being that's inside of a house, but it doesn't even make sense. There's no houses in the Sector 6 slums that even remotely look like this, and if it's for camouflage, it's the tiniest house I've ever seen, so it doesn't make sense from that standpoint either. Pretty much with these videos, we're looking at these enemies from a logical standpoint, which I know seems kind of crazy to a lot of people because it's a Final Fantasy game, which is chock full of all kinds of crazy bullshit. Either way, the list isn't in any particular order, but let's just hop right into it. First up on this list, we have BrainPod, which you come across in the Shinra headquarters after Genova escapes, so I'm assuming it's some sort of Shinra experiment. What is it exactly? I don't even know. I think it's a sentient teapot. It's a teapot of some sort. I'm not entirely sure, but it opens up to reveal a head, so a person's living in there, or just their heads inside of the teapot. I couldn't find a way to logically explain this enemy to you. It's like they were just going through a list of inanimate objects to make into enemies when they were making this game, because they're like, we haven't made a teapot fight you yet. Next up we have Jersey, which is a balance scale, so essentially just another inanimate object that somehow came to life to fight you for some reason. You fight these inside the Shinra Manor. Now it does have a unique battle animation where when you attack it, it leans left or right, which makes it immune to magic or physical attacks. I have zero idea if there's any lore behind any of the enemies in the game, so presumably there was just a bunch of balance scales inside the Shinra Manor that came to life somehow, or maybe Shinra brought a bunch of them over there. Now this is somebody that we learned an enemy skill from in the original game, so there's a decent chance that they will make it to the remake, but it's just a lazy enemy concept. Following that, we have Manhole, which is a very, very self-explanatory enemy. It's a little red demon that hides under manhole covers. You fight them one at a time in groups of 3, and depending on which manhole cover it comes out from, it can do different attacks. Now this isn't the worst enemy concept by far, but when you look at it from a logical standpoint, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense when it comes to random encounters, because if I get into a fight with them, then take 10 steps to the left, fight them again, that would mean there would have to be another set of 3 manholes right there. Now if they want to update the enemy for the remake and maybe add manhole covers around the streets of Midgar, and every now and then when you go near one of these can pop out and fight you, then yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense, but as a random encounter, no. The next enemy I will attempt to pronounce GIROFELGO, which is a muscular blonde man whose lower half of his body is a pendulum or a guillotine of sorts. He hangs from a chain inside the Shinra Manor. He's able to attack your entire team for decent damage while he's still on the chain, but if you attack him, he can fall off the chain potentially and lay on the ground for like 3 turns and not be able to defend himself. So he's already an absurd enemy concept and honestly kind of a boring fight, but from a realistic standpoint, when you walk into the Shinra Manor and look up, you'd see an absurd amount of buff blonde men hanging from the ceiling with the lower half of their body being a giant blade. This enemy and pretty much any others that would be on a list like this, I'd love a lore explanation of how they got created from whoever designed the enemies in this game. How did they get inside the Shinra Manor? Who hung all the chains from the ceiling? Who put the giant blades on their lower half of their body? Where are their legs? Except for number 3, we have Devil Ride, which may not be the funniest or weirdest enemy concept, but I think he just looks hilarious with the absurd length of the handlebars, how far he's reaching over his head to reach the handlebars. This might have been a super radical enemy concept back in the 90s, but to me he looks hilarious. And what is it supposed to be? Is it half man, half machine? Half creature, half machine? Is it entirely like mechanical, robotic? Where did the surplus of motorcycles come from to create an infinite amount of these? Why are they hanging out outside of Midgar? And why do they look like real-world motorcycles compared to the in-game motorcycles? Second to last, or the penultimate, is Heavy Tank, which I guess dinosaurs were still alive in Gaia. You have the head of a Triceratops, the, I guess, upper torso of some sort of humanoid type of creature. It's got regular arms, and then the lower half of a tank. This is honestly one of my favorite enemies in FF7. When I think of enemies from that game, I think of this, I think of Hell House. It's always kind of stuck out to me, I think, because it's like the only dinosaur enemy that I can think of at all in the entire game. How did it come to be? Did like the destroyed Mako reactor in Gongaga like bring fossils back to life or something? Why did it fuse with the lower half of a tank? Why does it have regular humanoid arms? And last up on our list is by far I believe to be the worst enemy concept in the entire game of Final Fantasy VII. I thought Warning Sign was the worst. I was completely wrong. I do not know how I missed this enemy for the last video. And our final enemy on the list is GIGHEE or GIGHEE. Do I really need to explain it to you? It's an anorexic pink horse with blonde spiked hair, a sun on its forehead, some sort of choker necklace type thing, a vest, and a guitar neck as its tail. I almost had a stroke looking at this character design. This absolutely has to be the worst enemy design I've seen in any video game I've ever played in my entire life. This is one of those enemies that I'd be absolutely surprised, I'd be dumbfounded, stupefied if they put forth the effort to make GIGHEE or GIGHEE into an enemy in the remake. Doing very basic research, if you want to even call it that, this enemy is apparently a David Bowie Easter egg referencing his stage persona Ziggy Stardust, and the enemy's name in Japanese can be translated to Ziggy. I have no idea if this is the enemy I want to see the least or the most in the remake. And there you have it, guys, 7 enemies we probably won't see in Final Fantasy VII Remake. Doing these last 2 videos, there's a lot of strange enemies that I just didn't come across in my last playthrough. There's so many enemies that I don't even recognize. There might be enough weird, funny enemies left to do at least maybe one more video. I don't think we could do any more past that, because then we start getting into the regular basic enemies and some of the crazy cool abomination enemies, which I want to do a video about, like the 7 enemies I want to see the most. When it comes to the remake, outside of the bosses, because a lot of them are probably going to look pretty cool modernized, what enemies are you looking forward to the most? As always, throwing up some comments from the last video. The support lately has been great. The likes, the comments, the views. We had a video hit 3,000 views within the first day. It's been a while since that's happened, especially for an FF7 video. I'm not really known in the Final Fantasy community like at all. I've been doing pretty much Bethesda Fallout content for the majority of my channel, but I have been talking about FF7 Remake pretty much since 2015, anytime there's news or info. I've waited pretty much 4 years to really be able to talk about this game, and that's kind of the focus of the channel right now because there's really no other games I care to talk about. But with all that out of the way, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, and want to stay up to date with more Final Fantasy VII Remake content, turn on my notifications, follow me on Twitter at TheDashingDavid, at my Discord, links to my social networks are in the description, and in the outro. Later, guys.